for this year's running of the great race. The winner's circle awaiting the champion of 1986 and all of these people. Good afternoon. I'm Jim McKay reporting live from Churchill Downs, where in just an hour and a half we'll be beginning our telecast, our exclusive telecast of the Kentucky Derby itself. Now, during Wide World of Sports, we'll be coming back here live periodically to give you updates on the constantly changing odds and to bring you a videotape of yesterday's running of the Phillies Derby, as it might be called. That is the Kentucky Oaks. It turned out to be a wonderful contest. The current odds for the Kentucky Derby. This is as of this moment at Churchill Downs. Ferdinand at 14-1, Mogambo 7-1, Bold Arrangement, the English horse, 6-1, Vernon Castle, something of an outsider, Rampage, the Arkansas Derby champion, at 5-1, Broadbrush from Maryland at 14-1. Badgerland at 5-2 is now the favorite in the race, and that is a surprise. Wheatley Hall at 35-1, Snow Chief expected to be the favorite, now at 4-1. Bachelor Bow 40-1, and Groovy at 50-1. Here we have Wise Times. This is the mutual field. Bet one and you bet them all. Wise Times, Icy Groom, Southern Appeal, Zabaleta, and Bobby Forbes. For other aspects of Wide World this afternoon, let's go to Jim Lampley.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Civic Center in Glens Falls, New York, where today, live on ABC's Wide World of Sports, you'll be following the continued progress of teenage heavyweight prodigy Mike Tyson as he works to improve his already sparkling image and take another step toward the prospective championship fight, which is already being discussed for him. As was the case for almost half of his previous matches, Tyson will be appearing before a wildly supportive crowd here in upstate New York, not far from the town of Catskill, where he was nurtured toward his professional career by the late and legendary trainer Cus D'Amato. His dossier reads neatly: 19 years old, 19 fights, 19 knockouts, 12 of them in round one. Today, Mike Tyson will go for victory and knockout number 20 against the most prominent heavyweight yet to face him, fighting cowboy James Quick Tillis, whose ring savvy and defensive skills should present a noteworthy challenge to Tyson's knockout hunger. A scheduled 10-round heavyweight battle live, Mike Tyson versus James Quick Tillis. And now, for more on ABC's Wide World of Sports today, here's Diana Nyad.
From the north woods of Canada to the lush forests of New Zealand, woodsmen travel every year with their fine tools to a spot in the middle of the U.S. for competition. It's the 25th time the lumberjacks meet in Hayward, Wisconsin. They roll logs with spiked shoes. They chop through thick wood with ferocious strength. They saw with finesse and dexterity. And they hustle straight up into the clouds in a 100-foot speed climb. These are the World Lumberjack Championships today on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Brought to you by Mercury Cars, the shape you want to be in. By Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's cooked the Colonel's special way. Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right. And by Century 21 Real Estate Corporation. Put number one to work for you.
At 4:30 Eastern Time, we'll begin our exclusive telecast of the Kentucky Derby of 1986. The big surprise here at the moment is that Badgerland has been made the favorite over Snow Chief, particularly since they have met 4 times on the racetrack before, and Snow Chief was the winner every single time. Right now, we're going to go to the World Lumberjack Championships, a slice of Americana that you always seem to enjoy. In Hayward, Wisconsin, its traditional site, and here's Diana Nyad. From Churchill Downs in Kentucky, the odds story is narrowing now. It's Badgerland, still the surprise favorite at 5-2, but Snow Chief is creeping up on him. The odds on him now at 3-1. Lots more to come in this long afternoon of ABC Sports. A little bit later, of course, starting at 4:30 Eastern Time, our telecast of the Kentucky Derby. And later here on Wide World of Sport, we'll be showing you the Oaks from yesterday, the Phillies Kentucky Derby. Also, the conclusion of the World Lumberjack Championship from Hayward, Wisconsin. However, right now we're going to move on for the fight being presented on Wide World. For that, our commentator is Jim Lampley. Jim?
We bring you back now to Glens Falls, New York, where very shortly we'll have our live coverage of the scheduled 10-round heavyweight fight between Mike Tyson and James Quick Tillis. And in order to appreciate the impact of 19-year-old Mike Tyson on boxing's heavyweight division, I think it's important to point out that at this early stage of his career, he's not being compared to the contemporary stars of the sport, but rather to people like Rocky Marciano and Joe Frazier, some of the greatest names in the history of boxing. Which brings up a question for our boxing expert, Alex Swallow, here at ringside with me. Alex, 2.5 months ago when we first saw Tyson, you specifically pointed out that in a lot of ways he's still a baby in his progress in the sport. Is he being rushed to stardom?
Well, I think it's difficult, Jim, to be sure about the ability of a 19-year-old fighter who's never met a world-class opponent. But in my opinion, Mike Tyson will be ready to fight for and win the heavyweight championship of the world by the end of this year. That may be more of a comment on the lack of talent in the heavyweight division than on Mike's ability. The real question is, will Mike Tyson be a great heavyweight champion? And the answer to that question is still several years down the road. For the present time, Mike has to content himself with learning his trade, as he did last February against Jesse Ferguson, dropping Ferguson with that right uppercut on his way to a 6-round TKO. In his most recent fight, Mike took on journeyman Steve Zowski, and despite a subpar performance in his opinion, he scored a 3rd-round knockout with a typical Tyson left hook. Many of you are aware of Mike's relationship with Cus D'Amato, the veteran boxing figure who took Mike out of reform school at age 13, became his legal guardian, and guided Mike in and out of the ring until Cus's death last November. Before he died, Cus predicted that Mike Tyson would become the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history. At the present time, that distinction is held by another D'Amato protege, Floyd Patterson, who was 21 years and 10 months old when he stopped Archie Moore to win the title. Mike Tyson will be 20 next month. He dreams of being heavyweight champion before his 21st birthday.
The greatest fighter of all time couldn't accomplish that. Jack Dempsey, Lewis, to be 20 years old and be the best in what they do in their field. And at any time, it doesn't have. You could be in a lost era where guys are not great fighters or something like that. But to be the champion of the world and just a boy, you're king of the world and you're only a boy.
Are you ready to handle that?
Huh?
Are you ready to handle it?
Am I? I'm so ready I could taste it.
A few years ago, the man who faces Tyson today, James Tillis, was fighting the kinds of opponents Tyson has fought on his way to 20 straight victories and an eventual shot at a heavyweight crown. Now he is one of those opponents, but he still believes that fights like this have meaning for him.
Mean a lot, mean big money, you know what I mean? Mean a lot of things to me. That's why, I'm in this game to make money, I don't want to be in this game, train hard just to be punching bag, somebody to, come over and beat and hit you and everything. I want to get back on top, you know what I mean? In the limelight, for real.
And how can you beat him?
Moving and boxing, in and out, side to side. Roping him and sparing him and all that. See, my great-grandfather was a cowboy, so it was in my blood, from the root to the fruit.
Well, for a while today, at least, Tillis will be in the limelight because of the attention which is being paid to Mike Tyson. We'll be back shortly with the start of the fight, and we'll have more of the World Lumberjack Championships on Wide World right after this.
Back again live at Churchill Downs where Badger looks.
And is still somewhat surprisingly the favorite for the Kentucky Derby at 5-2 odds over Snow Chief, who had been expected to be the favorite, currently being held at 3-1. Well, there's a lot more coming on Wide World. Of course, our Derby telecast begins at 4:30 Eastern Time. Yet to come the fight, of course, between Mike Tyson and James Quick Tillis. Now, yesterday here at Churchill Downs, they had the annual running of the Kentucky Oats for the fillies, for the 3-year-old fillies. That's what the Derby is for the colts. The Oaks shaped up as a classic confrontation between two unbeaten fillies, Tiffany Lass and Hidden Light. You see Tiffany Lass held at 6-5 as the favorite. First two horses were trained by Woody Stevens, the next three by Wayne Lucas. Over here, Hidden Light at 5-2, second favorite in the race, and Classy Cathy at 9-2. It was a beautiful day, temperature about 70 degrees as they moved into these post positions before the race. crowd of about 50,000 people was on hand. Mike Battaglia stood by to call the race as number 8. Dynamic Star moved in, and then Ice Cream Social. And Mike with the call of the race.
And off. Breaking for the lead in the center of the track. That is Life at the top from the inside. Tiffany last. Extreme outside Ice Cream Social. Then are we having fun yet? Into the first turn. Life at the top will leader by a length. On the outside into second. That's Ice Cream Social. On the rail, Tiffany last, third, a length. Hidden Light is fourth by 1. Are we having fun yet? Fifth. Lotka sixth ahead. Classy Cassie seventh. Gap of 2 to Family Style. Then it's Trim Colony. I'm Sweets is next, followed by Turn and Dance. The trailer, Dynamic Star. Down the back stretch, the leader, Life at the top by a length and a half. Ice Cream Social second, by ahead. Tiffany last, third, a length. Hidden Light fourth ahead. On the outside, Are We Having Fun Yet? Fifth, 2 lengths to Classy Kathy, sixth. Family Style is seventh ahead. Lotka runs eighth. Moving into the turn, Life at the top continues to lead by 2 lengths. Tiffany last is second, a length. On the inside, Hidden Light now takes third. Are We Having Fun Yet? Runs fourth. Classy Cassie fifth. They're moving for the stretch. Life at the top leads by 2. On the inside, Tiffany last second. Hidden Light is third by ahead. Family Style fourth ahead. Are We Having Fun Yet? Fifth. Then Classy Kathy. With an eighth of a mile to go. Life at the top ahead in front. Tiffany last is second. Family Style third. Nearing the wire, it's Life at the top. On the rail, Tiffany last. They're right together. Under the wire, it looks like Tiffany last gets up to win it by a head over Life at the top of photo for third.
And so the undefeated Tiffany Lass had truly showed her class, coming on in the last few strides to nip Life at the top. Family Style finished third in the race. And by the way, both the second and third horses were owned by Eugene Klein. Let's take another look at the finish of that race, because it was horse racing at its finest. Life at the top, the outside of those 2 horses. Tiffany Lass on the inside appeared for a moment to be beaten, but watch what jockey Gary Stevens gets out of her in the final few strides. Here she comes. And on the outside in the gold silks, that's Family Style coming on for third. The issue, though, still in doubt at this point as the nose of Tiffany Lass hits the finish line. Here were the prices, the second and third horses, both from the stable of Wayne Lucas, and the official order of finish. In the Kentucky Oaks of 1986, there you see the first 6. Tiffany Lass, of course, the winner. Hidden Light in 7th position in the final standings, and right on down to Ice Cream Social, who battled for a while and then gave up the ghost. That was the story of the Kentucky Oaks of 1986 yesterday afternoon at Churchill Downs. And here now is a live picture of Snow Chief back in his barn. Had expected to be the favorite here, currently second favorite. He is, after all, from a 22-year-old stallion who stands for $2,000, but he also has won 5 races in a row. And Carl Grinstead, one of the 75-year-old owners of Snow Chief, you can be sure he's still his favorite. The horse who's won 5 in a row and has beaten Badgerland 4 times out of 4, but Badgerland is still being held as the favorite at this moment as we near the Kentucky Derby. Let's go now to Jim Lampley.